Hello again. So today I'm talking about different things around the world and very much things like the magnetic field. So I'm going to go straight into it. So we have amazing monuments and buildings all around the world that were created thousands of years before, our time on Earth. But it turns out that these were built directly on powerful electrical waves, otherwise known as electromagnetic fields. Now, it seems that there's been a connection thought to have been found between sacred structures and powerful charged areas that provide today's electrical usage. So, magnetic fields that are on the Earth could have been mapped out by extraterrestrials, and they chose the locations of these where they wanted these monuments and sacred structures to be built. But why would this be? Now, there are a few theories which we'll go into. So these energy paths, they sort of intersect around the Earth and create a pattern. Now, Plato, the Greek god, taught our ancestors the structure of the Earth was a geometric shape, which is now known as Platonic solates. Now, he described the Earth as having 12 platonical faces and having 20 points of vertices of the surface. Now, when joining them together, it creates a geometrical formation between them. Bearing in mind this was in the 4th century BC, it's really not very believable that anybody could have that knowledge. Absolutely no way. Ancient theorists believe that the world grid could have been used as an energy flow flowing around the planet and was being used by our ancient ancestors and extraterrestrials. It's also worth noting that UFO sightings often happen in these high magnetic field areas around the world. Now back to the energy. Could it be that the extraterrestrials used the high magnetic fields as like charging stations? As planes today, they travel in straight lines to refuel because it just makes sense. Now, a man named Alfred Watkins theorised that ancient landscapes were deliberately placed for sight navigation, like possibly trade routes. But when you have some built on terrain that is impossible to walk on, it seems very unlikely. It seems more likely they were mapping systems, because no matter what the terrain, they chose to build them on even the rockiest of terrains, which seems a bit strange, unless it was deliberately they had to do it on this particular ley line. Now, ley lines are straight lines that drawn between historic structures and prominent landmarks, which are believed to have been possibly used as aerial navigation for extraterrestrials. So in Denmark, there is a direct line of flight from Trelleborg, Eskerholm, Freikat and Agersborg, with miles and miles and miles between them, that contain 4 zones with gateways that open precisely to north, south, east and west. Again, something at that time they wouldn't have knowledge of unless they had it from extraterrestrials. They are so precise. Now, for thousands of kilometres, the line is just straight from Delphi in Greece from Egypt to Denmark. It's just incredible. So in Delphi in Greece, where the god Apollo was believed, and where the myths all come from, he would leave every year on his so-called chariot. I mean, I probably would say it's more likely to be a space person, extraterrestrial on a spaceship of some kind, rather than horses and chariot. But that's something that other people may not believe in. But it seems more likely. And they would make stops. They would go and refuel. So that would explain the similar stories around the world. He would land, refill, and meet new beings. Now, wherever he makes the stop, they make somewhere, like a place, so therefore he knows the way back. Now, he recharges the planes, they travel in straight lines nowadays, and they refuel. It's the same sort of thing. Now, another wondrous thing is in the South Pacific, Easter Island. There and Costco possess the same stonework. They fit together like they've been welded. They are so tight together, and would have had calculations to make it like this. Now, travelling by plane nowadays would take 16 hours and 40 minutes between the South Pacific, Easter Island and Cusco. So there is no possibility that at that time humankind could have interacted with one another. It's not a possibility. Yet they developed the same understanding of stonework and the welding type work. It seems much more likely that something had travelled to both places and shared their ideas. Now, there is a straight line from Easter Island through to the centre of the Earth to Pakistan, Peru through to Cambodia, thousands of miles distance, but such a precise calculation. If we think about it, like pilots, like I just said, more recently, they used mountains and churches as to know where they were. So it's not really that unbelievable and hard to believe that, back then extraterrestrials were using things like the obelisk and pyramids as their sort of, right, this is where we're going. What's the difference? Now, in France, there is a monument dating back to 3500 BC. It has an advanced mathematical engravings in there, some of which have not yet been deciphered. The stones were placed mathematically. Now, there were 52 stones altogether, and 26 of them had engravings on them containing symbols and mathematics, which included pi. Now, pi is obviously the property of a circle. How on earth would they know this? They knew the longitude and the latitude of the island. It's amazing. Now, were the extraterrestrials trying to leave a message for us? Were they trying to pass down their knowledge to us? They needed maths to travel, just like we do now to travel to the moon, or in a car. We need mathematics in almost everything in life. So were they helping us? Humans did not know any of this back then. We were like cavemen in a sense. It's impossible. All this knowledge of astronomy, maths, and architecture, it had to have come from somewhere else. Like our modern people today, it had to have happened back then. It's impossible not to. Now, it could have been that extraterrestrials knew our development would reach a high like theirs. They wanted to help us to decipher codes and to understand more. Maybe they knew they wouldn't be able to continue visiting Earth for some unknown reason that we've not learnt yet. So they wanted us to know that they do exist, and possibly they use these mathematical calculations for us to maybe learn how to travel to them. Now, this is when it starts getting to the whole government conspiracy theories, because the more and more I research this, the more and more I believe that there is a lot more known, but there's something that they don't want us knowing, because it's very unlikely there are not other things out there. And all these UFO sites that happen, are they too scared to come down? Are they being threatened that they can't come down? Have they realised that we've developed so much that they don't want to come down? There's a reason there are still sightings, but yet they don't come down anymore. What's that reason? What is the connection that we've lost between them? Very interesting stuff. Once again, thank you and bye.